Hey, this is Ryan Phillips here, and this is my game against Yury Lapshun. Um, I think most of the people who are watching this video already are aware that I won this game, which, of course, I was pretty ecstatic about, as my graphic language on Facebook kind of would probably indicate. I realized I probably shouldn't be using expletives, expletives, as I have a lot of friends that are pretty young on Facebook. But I guess the excitement kind of overwhelmed me a little bit. Anyway, though, this game was a C3 Sicilian or Alapin Sicilian, which is actually kind of funny. I saw, I guess Nakamura and Nigel Short have been having a little bit of an argument that the Alapin is kind of a not serious opening for chess professionals, I guess. Um, but I guess it was good enough for me in this game and against Tom Brownscombe, so it's worked out fairly well for me so far. I actually have been conversing with Alyssa Melakina on Facebook a little bit, and she's been pretty gracious about giving me kind of some ideas in this C3 Sicilian. Not really before the games, so all the games have really kind of been my own ideas, to be perfectly honest. But afterwards, I'll ask her for her opinions on the games and some of the ideas, since I know she's very comfortable in this opening, and she's been more than grateful. So I've been really happy for her assistance, and beyond that, it's probably about 2 to 1 that we end up getting married. If I decide I want to commit to all that. No, I'm just joking. And actually, in my last message, after she asked me if this game was a rated game, I told her that it was, and I told her, about like how, I told her the event, the Marshall Chess Club, and I'm wondering. She actually hasn't responded to that message yet, so I'm wondering if she looked up my performance and started realizing, oh shoot, this guy's pretty decent. Maybe I shouldn't be giving him so many pointers, or more than likely, I'm just reading more into it than I should, and she's been quite busy. But anyway, I wanted to thank her for helping me out and for making the C3 Sicilian videos, as obviously I've gotten some of my more impressive wins in that line, and I actually don't feel like I really even know the line particularly well as of yet. Anyway, so here goes the game. E4, C5. I guess actually you could play C3 immediately, but actually I've always opted for knight F3, since I guess against D6, C3 isn't even that great of a move, since D6 kind of stops the E5 pawn push, which is necessary in a lot of these lines. So I usually wait to see what my opponent does before even playing C3. And again, I don't think I'm a full devotee to the C3 Sicilian yet, so I could easily play different variations against any of these Sicilian lines, which I plan on doing. So anyway, we saw knight C6 here. And then here I played C3. So this is pretty similar to the Nakamura-Carlsen game. Up to this point, actually, it's exactly the same. In that game, Carlsen opted for knight F6. And in this game, Yury opted for D5. So it looks like knight F6 is more commonly played. So we see D5 here. And I took the pawn immediately. Which actually, something kind of dawned on me in this position already, is that I actually like this kind of move order for black a lot more than say in the game against Tom, where he plays E6 first. Because here after E6, the light square bishop is blocked in, versus knight C6, the light square bishop is not locked in. So a move like E5, which still maybe isn't even that great of a move in this position, I think it's a lot more powerful because this light squared bishop is blocked in. Whereas in the game continuation, okay, I'm not sure, did I do new main line? Meant to do new variation, but okay, new main line. Whereas in this position, a move like E5 I think is pretty bad, because even though the computer doesn't show it as being too terrible, after bishop F5 or bishop G4, probably bishop G4 seems more natural to me, but bishop F5 looks good also. Now we basically have an advanced French where this light square bishop is outside the pawn chain, and this is just a huge difference and significantly better position for black due to this. So here I'm basically forced to take on D5. What ended up being very surprising to me in this game is actually the light square bishop had a hard time developing even in this this game. So I think Yury probably made a mistake maybe with E6, maybe bishop G4 first, might have been better. But anyway, queen takes here. And then here I played the move that everyone seems to enjoy, knight A3, which is only played one time. D4 does look a lot better to me, so I'm not really sure what not sure what made me play knight a3. Maybe the devil made me do it. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe I had I don't know. Maybe it just felt like this would be a better way to play against an IM. I have no idea. But I was considering d4 during the game, of course, and now it looks like a much better move to me than knight a3. But what the heck? I ended up playing knight a3, and it seemed to work out okay. So after knight a3, we saw e6, and yeah, I think this e6 move was probably a mistake. I think getting the bishop, the light square bishop developed is much better, or playing knight f6, which the computer recommends. Well, not the computer doesn't recommend this. The opening book shows this move. Seems like a logical alternative to me. And I was even wondering during the game if these like queen e4 check ideas are probably not here. But after I moved the bishop to c4, I'll have to look at that as we go along with the game. So anyway, though, I really didn't care for e6 here. But basically during the game, you know, when I was, at least my opinion when I was playing this game is, you know, it was kind of like, what the heck do I know? He's an IM, so. But you realize even that chess is complicated. Even IMs make mistakes, and you know, I think he played far below his usual level in this game, which of course is my benefit. And I think I played reasonably well. So anyway, though, I played bishop c4 here. And here I'm wondering if queen e4 check is playable. I guess I just bring the bishop back. I don't know. Queen e4 check looks interesting to me, though. But anyway, queen d8 was played, which computer seems to like. And then here I played d4. I was considering knight c2. So I was considering, no, I wasn't considering knight b5. I mean, I considered it for a second, but then after a6, the knight just goes back, and so that's just a waste of time. But I considered knight c2, and I think I've looked at castle also. Oh, I did look at castle. That's what I ended up playing. Okay, so I castled here. Knight f6. And then here I think I played kind of a dubious move, I bet. d4, I think this might be a mistake. So c takes. C takes. And this is also one of the areas I asked Alyssa about. I asked her, because I think this opportunity for black to play bishop takes a3 is probably available sometimes, and I asked her if this is anything I have to really worry about, and or if the bishop pair if the two bishops gives me compensation. And her basic opinion was that you should get adequate compensation for the ugly looking a pawns just by getting the two bishops. So I was relieved to hear that kind of my positional understanding of allowing bishop takes a3 was fine, was correct in offering that opportunity to my opponent. So anyway, here we saw bishop e7, and actually what's interesting to me is we're basically kind of in a queen's, sort of like a queen's gambit almost position. If you looked at the Kramnik-Karobov, I don't know if I pronounced that right, it's Korobov, the first game. This game looks very similar to that game, which I thought was pretty cool, so I thought that was interesting. Here I ended up playing knight b5 though, because I wanted to get the knight back to c3, and I thought maybe I had some ideas of bishop f4. Since my bishop's on c4, like ideas with knight to d5 don't seem to work, because I could just snatch off that piece. So I thought bishop f4 was maybe a little bit of something here. I mean, if my opponent played bishop d7 and rook c8, then my idea doesn't. Then I don't have any like knight c7 check ideas. So I'm not trying to say that knight c7 was like an impossible threat to defend. Of course, what I am trying to say is I thought it was something that would it was something my opponent had to deal with that would allow me to get my knight from this very bad a3 square to a much more pleasant c3 square. And then we're kind of like some kind of high. It looks like some kind of queen's gambit. I'm not really sure, though. I don't generally see the e in. I guess you see these isolated queen pawn games enough. So I'm not sure what the exact move order is in the queen's gambit to get an open c and e file versus an open, half open c and d file for your opponent. So I'm not really sure the exact line, since I don't play the queen's gambit myself too often, or I don't think I ever have. So knight a6, knight c3. So here I was pretty happy to kind of get my pieces in much more traditional squares. So getting the knight back to c3 I thought was a small victory for me, even though my position isn't by any means better at this juncture. Here my opponent played castle though, and I played bishop g5. So I thought so far so good. All my pieces seem to be on decent squares, and I I know that with the isolated queen pawn, I have to play sort of actively. Otherwise, this pawn just can become a big weakness. So I thought I did a good job of playing, playing active moves. Here my opponent played another. I think this was a very important move in the game. I think b5 was much better than what my opponent played. I was actually wondering during the game why they didn't play b5. They ended up playing b6 here, and so from here on out, I thought, here we're just kind of playing chess, and we'll see what happens. But I thought it was pretty easy for me to find reasonable moves in the position, which in a game in 25 scenario was very important. And then also just from a chess perspective, it's very important to be able to find, to have easy to find moves, for your next few moves, because kind of like I said in the last video, if your moves are easy to find, then the probability of your opponent making a mistake goes up, and the probability of you making a mistake goes down, assuming that their moves aren't as easy to find as yours. Which I think my moves were a little bit easier to find than my opponent's in this position. So anyway, I played queen d2, bishop b7, and then here I think I made a mistake. I should have played, I like rook f d1. The computer's not showing this move, but I played rook a to d1, which is a mistake because this rook on a1 belongs on the open c file. So I think rook f to d1 would have been fine, or rook a to c1, which the computer's showing would have been good. But rook a to d1 is it's too slow because now I have to move this rook back in order to get this rook onto the d file. So it was just a bad move, and I played it immediately. I don't know why. For some reason, it felt like the right move to me until I played it, and then right after I played, I say, "Oh no, that's not correct." Anyway, I played rook a d1. Then we saw rook c8. So I think my opponent is kind of playing. Oh, what is this? This is like the. It looks like the hedgehog almost. In a lot of ways. Yeah, I believe this is the hedgehog system. So I think that was what my opponent was trying to do here. I didn't even really realize that until I'm looking at the game now. That's what it kind of looks like to me. So anyway, so here I played bishop e2 because I think there was a lot of threats here. Basically, the rook on c8 is hitting my bishop on c4 once this knight moves. So I think even just knight takes d4 was a threat. Even with like knight e5 maybe was possible. I don't know, but there was a lot of threats here for my opponent, so I have to be careful. So I played bishop e2, which I thought was a logical move also because I wanted this bishop on e2 in a lot of lines just to protect this knight on f3 because the bishop on b7 might be hitting this piece at some point, and with the queen on d2 I don't have the queen providing protection to this knight on f3, so I thought bringing the bishop back to e2 was something I wanted to do anyway. So then we see knight to d5. So I took on e7. My opponent played knight c takes e7. And here I played knight e5, which I like, but the computer doesn't seem to rate this move very highly. This seemed like a Kramnik move. This was played in the Kramnik-Karabov game. So far I felt okay with what was going on. I guess my opponent played f6, in which point I was planning on playing knight to d3, I believe. And I felt that my opponent had a slightly better position, which actually I don't even know if I felt that, but I felt that I was okay after knight d3. I didn't think I was in any imminent trouble. So anyway, but my opponent didn't play this move. He played knight takes c3, and I took with the b pawn, of course. And then here we saw queen d6, which I didn't fully understand. Obviously it connects the rooks, but other than that I'm not really sure what the idea was, so I was kind of confused. And I also have some nice ideas with knight c4. I thought at some point I have to be careful about this bishop on b7 and queen going to like c6 or d5, for example, and some mate possibilities. But I think I should be okay defending against that. The problem is after like a knight c4 move, I think queen c6, move like bishop f3 is no good because then the knight on c4 doesn't have any protection anymore. And if I play a move like f3, it's just a very weakening move. So I think a knight could even try to jump onto e3 at some point in the future via like f5 or d5. So I have to be kind of careful in this position. But I thought I found a nice plan here with rook b1. Yeah, I basically just decided with this idea of rook b1 to try to pile up on this b6 pawn, which I actually thought was pretty inconvenient for my opponent to try to defend. So here we saw rook f to d8, which maybe wasn't the sharpest move. And then I just continued with queen b2, just hitting this pawn over here. I think on knight d5 I was planning on playing c4 maybe, knight f4. I'm not sure. Anyway, b5 was played. And then here I played a4. Now we see knight d5. Rook fc1. And I looked at this knight f4 move. I thought I was okay. I was going to play bishop to f1, I believe. I don't know. I guess the computer is showing a nice position for black here. So maybe we both underestimated how good knight f4 was. I thought I had that move under control though during the game. So even bishop f1 I guess isn't a good move. I think computer's suggesting f3, which I think I looked at this move also. So in this variation I should be okay according to the computer. I don't think I'm in too much trouble at this point, although the computer seems to like b4 a lot now. So I'm not really sure what would have occurred if this had happened in the game. Maybe would have been a different outcome, not 100% sure. So anyway though, we saw b4 in this position, which I think was might have been a mistake by my opponent. So it looks like the evaluation has kind of changed in my favor. So here I took on b4, and then rook takes c1, check was played, which was what I was expecting. And then here knight takes b4 is forced over. I think queen takes b4 loses on the spot. I can't remember. So I have this move, knight takes of course, and then yeah, this rook c7 move is very strong. So I'm hitting the f7 pawn and the b7 bishop, and I think this was something I had to look at. So I can move like rook e4 out the back rank threats, but there was some other variation where the back rank may save me also in some other line that I was looking at. So anyway, so queen takes b4 is really, really bad, so my opponent played knight takes b4. And then here I think I found the crucial move of the game, which was I think my favorite move of the whole game. I played rook to c5. And then my idea here was after queen takes. Okay, so here's where here's the variation I wanted to show. So after queen takes, rook takes. Here I have this nice rook c7 move, and then here on rook e4, I have rook takes b7. And then if I move like say f6 for example. Oh, okay, that doesn't stop the mate. Okay. Anyway, so okay, I move like g6. Then I could just play knight f3 here, and then if rook takes e2, I'm going to take the rook on the knight on b4, and the knight on f3 is now stopped controlling the e1 square, so I don't have to worry about any back rank mates myself. So this was kind of a crucial variation I think during the game that I'm sure both players analyzed. So what was the after rook c7? I guess f6 kind of holds everything here. Although I'm not sure I really believe this, but I guess I showed the computer showing it. But rook takes. I see. Alright, so maybe this is I guess this could be okay. Looks like rook b6 looks like the easiest way, just if I just want to draw the game. This looks simplest. But even here I think white has a small pull. Probably not enough to win, but I prefer white in this position. So anyway, so I thought rook c5 was a very nice move. So here my opponent played a5. And I didn't consider knight c4. Probably should have. I just took on a5. Here we saw bishop a6. And I considered rook takes a6 for a second. I didn't really see anything too great, but I thought bishop takes a6 was pretty sound. Knight takes, and yeah, here I should have probably tried to penetrate in the position more, but I probably played too passively here with queen e2. Yeah, queen b5 is a nice move. I didn't see this because on queen b5, the queen still covers the f1 square, which was important for me to defend against any back rank threats. But I'm kind of curious if queen b5, what's wrong with just knight c7? Yeah, I'm not really sure I'm understanding this. Here, take. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely a computer line. This is really hard for a human to see, so I'm not too disappointed I missed this line. So first I have to see the rook on a5 is, okay, I see this card covering the e5 knight, but even after g3, I'm not sure why I move like knight to d5 is so terrible. I guess that's why, but okay, I mean maybe I could see this line, but it seemed like a difficult line to find. So I played queen e2, which computer showing is not quite as good, but I thought this was okay. And then here we saw knight c7, and then here I probably played a very bad move. Actually, I know I played a bad move here. So rook c5 on move. What move was that? Rook c5 on move 25 was my favorite move of the game, and then rook c5 on the 29th move was probably my least favorite move of the game, since this move's a total blunder. Unfortunately, the only way I could really cover this d4 pawn again is to play the knight back to f3. I really want to see if I feel like there's something about d5 that just looks appealing to me, but I can't. I mean, on the surface, it just seems like knight takes d5 and there's nothing for white, but for some reason this d5 breakthrough seems like something to me. I don't. Yeah, it's absolutely nothing, but I have no idea why this d5 push seems so good to me, but it's obviously bad. But here I played a really bad move here with rook c5. And this basically threw away the whole advantage for me. So queen takes d4. And here I played rook c1 and offered a draw, which in retrospect I kind of regret. But as far I regret it just from the sake that, you know, why offer a draw? You know, what do I have to lose? But from what happened in the game, from a psychological aspect and from a practical aspect, it actually worked out really well for me, as I think my opponent had something else to think about other than just chess. And I had a big time advantage at this point too. I think I had like a 5-minute time advantage still. He had like 5 minutes, I had about 10. So I actually think it was a reasonable draw offer, and if he would have accepted it, I wouldn't have been surprised. But so anyway, after rook c1, he declined my draw offer. And here I thought he should just play queen takes a4. I think he missed this idea. So after queen takes a4, I can't take on c7 because rook d1 is going to lose to me. Is going to lead to white losing their queen. Luckily for me, I have this idea of knight takes f7, which I actually thought about this move a few days later, just when reminiscing about the game. Whereas after that, this was a good move since I'm hitting the rook, and if king takes, I could play rook takes c7. This time it's with check. But I thought this should be a draw also. Maybe my position's slightly better. But I thought take. I thought rook d7. Probably just. I think I was just playing on taking. And then maybe. Yeah. I mean, this position looks totally draw. So I thought that after queen takes a4, I was pretty happy that at least I had a draw with knight takes f7. But I thought queen takes a4 was still the best move for my opponent, just to get rid of this outside pass pawn and kind of make their life a little bit easier. Anyway, though, we saw a pretty bad move here with knight d5. And here I have knight to c6. And I think my opponent missed after queen to f4. So queen f4 is a good move here, just to attack my rook on c1. But I think my opponent missed rook c4. I think that was the move they missed when they played knight to d5. And again, my opponent was in quite a bit of time trouble already. I think at this point, probably about 3 minutes. I think I had probably about 6 or 7. So my time advantage definitely was slipping a little bit, but it was still, you know, I still felt pretty comfortable. I believe at this point my opponent already stopped notating, and actually notated the whole game, just because I thought it was, I don't know, for me it was really important I had a record of this game. I think when he resigned I only had about 40 seconds left. He had about 15. And so it would have been logical for me to not notate from if I was strictly worried about the result, which I was very worried about the result, of course, but I also wanted to have a record of this game, as I thought I had a pretty decent chance to win it at this point. So here I think my opponent should, I don't know, I thought my opponent should have contented themselves with just losing the exchange here with a move like Queen F6 or D6. I'm not sure why the computer doesn't seem to like this very much. I don't know, in my opinion, this gave my opponent more practical chances than what ended up happening. But maybe this is not an accurate assessment. But anyway, my opponent played knight c3 here. So here, this is a nice move. The idea is basically if I take on f4, this is a losing move. Oh, it's not a losing move. Okay, I could have gone into this variation. Yeah, I guess this looks like it should be a winning endgame for me, I think. Although computer could be incorrect in this. But it looks like the past 8 pawns should be decisive. So that was the idea behind knight c3. That was basically just for me to play rook takes c4. Or rook takes f4, excuse me. But luckily for me I have this even better move with rook takes c3. And the rook on c3 is covering c1, so I don't have to worry about any kind of back rank threats at this moment. So after rook takes c3, we saw queen e4. So trying to solve his problems by tactical means. So obviously I can't take on e4 because of rook d1, and I'll be mated. So I have to play correctly here, which I did with queen f1. And then here my opponent played rook d2. So just trying to go to a2, I believe, and try to stop this a pawn from advancing. Here I thought I played a nice move with knight e5, just taking advantage of the back rank of my opponent. But apparently this isn't the best move. I guess just pushing the pawn immediately was superior. But I thought knight e5 was fine. And then we saw g5 here, getting rid of the back rank threats, and I played knight c4 here. And then we saw rook a2, a5. After a5, h6. And then I played rook a3 here, which led to rook c2. Played knight e3, just hitting the rook. Rook b2, so he's threatening rook b1 here, which isn't really even that much of a threat since I do have knight d1. But it's kind of I should deal with this move, I think. So I played rook a1 just to stop this move of rook b1. And then here my opponent played rook b4. I pushed a6. I think here rook a4 immediately would have been I think this move would have been good. But here we saw f5. I don't think this move is very good. a7. Rook a4. And then here I found what I thought was a very nice move. It doesn't I think after you see it, it doesn't seem that hard to find, but during the game in this kind of situation, I thought this was a really nice idea that I found with queen d1. So I definitely didn't think this was I don't think this is an easy move to find, but once you see it, then you're like, okay, this is obviously the best move. So the idea is, of course, I'm still protecting the rook on a1, but now I'm also attacking this rook on a4 again. And interestingly, say this knight on e3 is in here, so just I just want to kind of show like a silly variation, so just to waste a few moves. I kind of found this idea later also. Okay, say here I play queen d1. Let's go there. I'd say here I play queen d1. I thought this was a cool little trick that I kind of saw of like queen c2. I thought this was a very, very interesting move. But of course it doesn't work in this position with the king on h8 because I can queen. But say so let's give a better black move. Alright, let's go king g7 here. And again, I'm just showing you this because I thought it was kind of a cool variation, not because that's just the only reason. I just thought it was pretty interesting. But I thought this move, Queen C2, was really cool, and I think someday this might help someone win a game that they're totally losing. So again, the king safe is an issue. Queen D. So, but if we could kind of disregard king safe, you say the king was safe hypothetically. Say the pawns like on G7 and F7, the king's on H7. There's no, say the king's safe. I think a move like Queen C2 is gonna, even by a good tournament player, could be overlooked. And I thought this was a really tricky idea that I was happy. I don't know why this kind of came to me. I was just trying to think of moves for black, maybe to improve the way they played. But I just thought this Queen C2 idea was really interesting because, of course, I can't take either of black's pieces due to the weak back rank. And it's also a blocking move. It blocks the queen on D1 from hitting the rook on A4. So I thought this was like the coolest move ever when it kind of came to me a few days ago. I was like, oh man, this would have been sweet. And then I remembered that my knight was on E3, so I didn't have to worry about this variation because the knight on E3 could just take on C2, of course. And not only that, but the knight on E3 could come back to F1 and block any back rank mates. But I just kind of the geometry of the pieces I thought was really cool with this Queen C2 move, so I wanted to highlight it in the video. But anyway, let's go back to the actual game here. So here I played Queen D1, and Yury took here on A1, and I took back, and I think Queen A8 is basically forced to stop me from promoting. So where I played Queen A6, and then on I didn't kind of push F4. I think I just played the knight back to F1. Queen takes E6 check looks okay, of course, but I thought just knight F1 also seems fine in all these variations. And then Queen B6 and Queen B8 is pretty much unstoppable. My opponent ended up playing King F7 here though, just to protect the E6 pawn. And then I never considered this knight C4 move, but this does look very good. So knight C4, knight B6, driving the queen away. I just figured the knight on E3 seemed fine here, just to stop any kind of back rank. Not that I have to worry about that right now, but I thought maybe he could go for some kind of tricks with like Queen D8 and, I guess the queen on A6 is also covering F1. With the knight on C4 though, it does kind of stop that. But anyway, I thought Queen B6 was more than decisive. So I wanted this move with the idea of just being Queen B8 and promoting my A7 pawn to another queen. And again, this knight on F1 is very strong, or this knight on E3 is very strong for being able to prevent any back rank mates. So say F4 here, I could probably even just ignore that. Since I always can go, I always have Queen E4 here to stop the pawn from promoting. But anyway, after Queen B6, my opponent Yury resigned here, and of course you can imagine I felt pretty good after beating my first ever IM. I was happy. I was pretty happy he was over 2,500 too. I know some IMs, you could be like in the 2,400 to 2,500 range. So I was happy he was also rated over 2,500. And it kind of put me at ease. I was very disappointed that I lost that game against Aldana in Las Vegas, since I feel like I should have won that game. So I was happy that I could, I could have easily gone my whole chess career with never being an IM, and that would have been. I don't think that would have been unusual at all for someone of my rating range. So the fact that I actually got to beat an IM, it's pretty cool. I feel real happy that I was able to accomplish this goal at some point in my chess career, and I really wish that we had players of this caliber more in Las Vegas, to be honest. Just because I feel like if we did, I think the only reason why I was able to beat an IM, I feel like, is because I had an opportunity to play one. And I think if there was people at the chess club that had opportunities to play like IMs and GMs, it wouldn't happen frequently, of course, but I feel like we would get some scalps every once in a while, and I think everyone should. I think it's just a great opportunity just to get to play an IM or GM. It just it really kind of brings out your best chess, and it kind of gives you a good barometer of what you need to work on and what they're doing differently than what you're doing. And if you don't get this opportunity or experience to play these type of players, you don't get that. You don't get to realize what they're doing differently than you are. I was also, beyond the obvious reasons of being really happy to beat someone so highly rated, I think I was also encouraged for a lot of other reasons. A couple of them was one, I didn't feel like I really did anything spectacular in this game. I just made normal chess moves. I didn't require any kind of brilliance, or I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Just try to get my piece on good squares like I always do, and coordinate my pieces and see what happens. And secondly, I feel like I could play a lot better, to be honest. I thought some of my ideas in this game weren't that great. I thought rook a to d1 was a pretty poor move, and I thought I made some other illogical moves at certain points in the game. So yeah, I mean, when I beat someone this highly rated, and I feel like, oh man, I could, there's, it's not like really difficult things to improve upon. It's like, to me, it's blatantly obvious. Like, okay, these moves weren't that great. These were clearly inaccuracies, and I think these are inaccuracies I could not make, during the game, not in retrospect. I think during the game I could have made some better moves. I think that's what's most encouraging to me. It doesn't take, I don't have to be perfect to beat even someone 2500. I just have to play, reasonably well. And of course, I'm not trying to discount the fact that I know my opponent could play a lot better, because I think that he obviously could play better than this. I think he had an off game, but still, I mean, I just keep this idea that I could have played a lot better just keeps popping up in my mind over and over. And the fact that I didn't really do anything too special, I just played reasonable chess. It's this is really encouraging to me that this is kind of what it takes. And I'm not saying that this type of performance I'm going to be an IM every time, because I won't. But I think I know like a little bit more of what I have to do and what I need to work on, and what areas of my game are weak and what areas of my game are pretty good at the moment to beat some strong players. So everything considered is just really great performance and really great experience. And Yury was very gracious in defeat, and I was happy he didn't get like upset with me or anything like that. He took the loss like a professional, and I just I was pretty ecstatic to get a win against an IM, and hopefully I don't know. Hopefully this will be first of a few over my chess career. If I keep playing, and hopefully in the next 5 or so years, I think that'll probably be my prime. Hopefully I'll have some good results to show for all the effort I've kind of put into the game over the years. But anyway, I appreciate everyone watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of other stuff I wanted to talk about, regarding my emotions during the game and afterwards, and the actual game itself. So if anyone had anything they want to talk about the game, I'll be happy to discuss it. And just really, really good. It's a good mantle to kind of have on my chess career now, I guess. So I mean, I am, and it's kind of a cool thing to be able to say. Anyway, that's this Ryan Phillips. I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video as always. And I'll be making my third video with my last round game against Boris Privman shortly hereafter. Alright, thank you again.